Chainsaw Man Chapter 98 was released today. It's been almost 2 years since the last Chainsaw Man chapter was released. The chapter starts with the introduction of Bucky, a headless chicken devil. He is to be raised by a class of high schoolers for 3 months before being killed and eaten by these students. This is a lesson to teach these students to value and appreciate life. Some Japanese schools actually do this, by the way. This might also be a callback to one of Fujimoto's one-shots, where the last surviving humans have to disguise themselves as squid chickens to hide from their alien conquerors. I'm not sure about the health ramifications of eating a devil, but neither the teacher nor the students seem to be concerned. Anyways, Bucky quickly became popular with the class. Although Bucky is a devil, he is harmless. He makes puns and make people laugh. He is an absolute comedian. Everyone grew so attached to Bucky that they decided to not eat him. Everyone except Mitaka. Mitaka Asa is the protagonist of this chapter. She is a social outcast and she has a strong hatred for devils because her parents were killed by one, which is why she never grew close to Bucky like her classmates did. However, when Bucky invited Mitaka to play soccer with the rest of her class, Mitaka was touched by Bucky's kindness and realized that she's jealous of her outgoing classmates. Despite her too-good-for-you attitude, she wanted to be just like them. She, too, wanted friends. But just as Mitaka decided to join her classmates, she tripped and fell on Bucky, squishing and killing the beloved chicken in front of her peers. Mitaka was ridden with guilt and became even more of a loner. Later, the teacher Mr. Tanaka and the class president visited Mitaka's house in the middle of the night. The three of them are going to Bucky's grave to apologize to the chicken. On their way to the school, the class president transformed into a 20 feet tall intestinal monster with 6 heads and giant biceps. The class president revealed that she's made a deal with the Justice Devil. She's been having sex with Mr. Tanaka, and worst of all, she was the one that tripped Mitaka and killed Bucky. The class president holds a grudge against Mitaka because she thinks that Mr. Tanaka is attracted to her, despite Mr. Tanaka already being in a relationship with the president. The president, possessed by the Justice Devil, claws Mitaka across the face, splattering her brains on the concrete. As Mitaka lays dying, she laments on her regrets in life, wishing that she could have been more outgoing. Before Mitaka passes, however, an owl appears before her and offers to save her life in exchange for the possession of her body. Not completely unlike when Denji and Pochita formed their contract. The pile of flesh that was Mitaka rises, this time as the War Devil. The cuts on her face reduced into scars, and her iris is now spiral, reminiscent of the eyes of a certain control devil. She then pulls out Mr. Tanaka's head and transforms the spinal cord into a sword, using it to cut the class president in half before blowing up both the president and Mr. Tanaka with a grenade she made from the severed arm of the Justice Devil. The War Devil walks away with an explosion of guts behind her. The chapter ends with the War Devil setting her sights on Chainsaw Man, declaring that she will make him vomit up nuclear weapons. Mitaka and the War Devil is looking likely to be the primary antagonist of Chainsaw Man Part 2. But this actually isn't the first time that we've heard of the War Devil. The War Devil is one of the 4 horsemen Makima had mentioned back in chapters 84 through 87. The 4 horsemen battled Pochita right before his disappearance, so the War Devil's had some history with Chainsaw Man. Her final line about nuclear weapons is referring to nukes being one of the concepts that Pochita had eaten and erased, so by making Pochita throw up the nuclear bomb devil, the War Devil can hypothetically return nuclear weapons to reality. Like Makima, the War Devil is also able to remember the concepts that Pochita had erased. Why is that? Makima was also strongly implied to be a horseman. She spoke of the fight between the four horsemen and Pochita like she was there, and stated her intent to use Chainsaw Man to erase death, war, and hunger, ideas that 3 of the 4 horsemen represented, leaving out only conquest. Makima's title of the Control Devil in Japanese is Shihai no Akuma. The Shihai here means to rule, to control, and to dominate, and Shihai is the word used to describe the horsemen of conquest. So it's likely that the 4 horsemen are more resistant to Pochita's ability to erase ideas from people's memories. The spiral eyes may be a trait that the horsemen share. Also, in the Book of Revelations, the first horseman to arrive was conquest, followed by war, then famine and death. Makima, the Control Devil and the Horseman of Conquest, was the antagonist of Part 1, and the War Devil seems like she's going to take up that role in Part 2. So if the rest of Chainsaw Man follows this trend, then we can assume that famine and death will be the villains of Parts 3 and 4. Like how the first chapter of the series is called Dog and Chainsaw, the first chapter of Part 2 is called Bird and War, describing the appearance of the devils and the concepts that they represent. At first you might think that the bird is referring to Bucky, but it is actually referring to the War Devil that came to Mitaka in the form of an owl. The owl is a sigil of Athena, the Greek goddess of wisdom and war. Although Mitaka now seems to be a hybrid like Denji, she doesn't have the signature hybrid transformation where her head turns into an object. I think this is because war is an abstract concept. Rather than being represented by a single weapon, the War Devil seems to have dominion over every weapon. From this chapter alone, she was able to conjure a sword, a grenade, and even hinted at producing nukes. Thanks for watching. I usually don't make chapter reaction videos like this one, but this chapter had a lot to go over with 50 plus pages. Let me know what you guys think.